What guys need to know to find a partner. A friend of mine who is 38 years old recently told me how hard it is to find good women. And he has the scars to prove that he is right. One of his recent dates had a band on her ankle. Not the cute kind, either. The type of ankle band worn by criminals. My friend is one of the best. Or what kids would call a high-quality man. He owns his own home and makes enough money to make the life of a significant other livable. He has one problem, though. He doesn't want another pretty animal for his glass collection. He wants a smart woman, focused on her work, kind, caring, and honest. He'd like her to be young and pretty, but that can't be all she has going for her. Unfortunately, it doesn't matter one bit how much money a man has in the bank for that dream woman. Style is less important than substance if you want to win her over. Welcome to the new era of modern dating, where all that glitters is now old. Now, only people who smell like Jay Gatsby and are very greedy are impressed by money. But that's not the only thing that's changed about dating in the last 10 years. And, sadly, many guys find it hard to change. Women want a partner, not someone to take care of them. In the 1820s, the word breadwinner came into use. At the time, bread was a staple food that helped people get by. So, the worker was the main person who brought money into the house. So, women no longer need bread, huh? Most women today avoid carbs and those who can't bring their own bagels home. A 2020 study on family incomes found that 41% of women were their family's main source of income. Note, the most recent data was from 2017, and strangely, it didn't include homes without children. Usually, a woman's pay goes up when she doesn't have children. Many guys are still stuck in the provider mentality, which is sad. They were told that if they worked hard and made a good wage, it would make them more important. Instead, women told men are providers to take a hike and took care of themselves. In 2022, there were 59.5% more women than men in college in the United States. Today, there are 4 times more women than guys in college. In 2019, there were more women with college degrees than men who were 25 years old or older. In 22 towns, women under 30 have also finally closed the wage gap. This wage gap is expected to close more as Gen Z and the groups after they get more schooling. You can bet that these numbers make conservatives' heads spin. Men have been told for decades that the ideal family is heterosexual and typical. The father is the king of the house, and the mother is the queen, nurse, maid, and, if they are crazy, a sex kitten in heels mixing him a Manhattan. Now, guys who were raised to be producers must do something they were never taught to do: work together. A woman still wants a man with a lot of money and ambition, but not because he can buy a house in the Hamptons. Most women want to date someone who makes as much money as they do. The assortative pairing has taken the place of hypergamy for the first time in history. Women's demands are growing. Men's standards are falling. In our society of swipe left and right, many single people say that dating has become a swamp of unhappiness. In a 2020 study by the Pew Research Center, single people were asked why dating is harder now. 56% of women agreed with the statement, "It's hard to find someone who meets their expectations." But only 35% of guys felt like they weren't getting what they wanted. Why do women seem to be so much less happy with dating? The MGTOWs and incels will say that men don't meet women's standards because women's demands are too high. Then, to explain why 80% of women only choose the most attractive 20% of men, they bring up the Pareto principle. The numbers from online dating apps, however, do not back this idea. I see a different easy problem to solve. It's not that women have too high of expectations. It's because guys don't have high enough expectations. By low, I mean shallow. If a woman is attractive, most men will date her even if she has debt, dark triad traits, and isn't very smart. You can say I'm making up my facts, but the study will back up what I say. Researchers looked at how true the hot/crazy matrix is in what has to be the funniest study ever. This popular YouTube movie ranked women from 1 to 10 on how hot they were and how crazy they were. Even though the hot/crazy scale was meant to be funny, it did have some truth to it. Men want the sexiest women who are also the easiest to deal with. Men seem to love getting into trouble, which is a shame. In this study, men said that if a woman with psychopathy or borderline personality disorder, BPD, was beautiful, they would be ready to date her. On the other hand, these things turned women off. To be clear, I'm not saying that anyone with BPD or psychopathy doesn't deserve love or isn't taking care of their health. Psychopathy isn't investigated enough, but the studies on BPD can't be argued with. In meta-analyses of studies, it was found that people with BPD have a much higher rate of partner abuse. Another study found that there were way too many people with BPD in jail, especially women. But it's not just violent personality problems that are red flags for women but not for guys. Another study that polled more than 12,000 people who use dating apps showed that grammar mistakes on a woman's profile only made men less likely to call her 11% of the time. But women were over 300% less likely to get in touch with guys whose dating profiles had bad language. Women who write are not hot. Gotcha. I think too much. Men only need their partners to be as ambitious as a Labrador Retriever, but women's expectations keep going up. In a recent study by the Pew Research Center, men and women were asked what they look for most in a partner. 78% of women said, a steady job, but only 46% of men cared whether a woman had a job. Men said that having similar ideas about having and raising children was the most important thing they looked for in a partner. Women and men don't have to talk about how to raise children because women can choose to have children without men. More educated women choose to be mothers instead of getting married. Even though men make up most of our workforce, men's jobless rates passed those of women in November 2022. One reason for these high unemployment rates is that guys are getting less and less schooling. 1 in 3 guys who only went to high school are out of work. Due to the amount of uneducated and unemployed American men, many women are in a Hobson's choice. They can either date someone with less schooling and or less job security than they do, or they can stay single. Many people have chosen to be single. The number of marriages in the US was at its lowest level since records began in 1867. Men are also choosing to be single, or they are being forced to do so. A 2019 study by the Pew Research Center found that 39% of men were single, while only 36% of women were. This wasn't the case 30 years ago when there were more single women than single men. But it's not hard to figure out how we ended up in this mess. Monogamy kept women and men in marriages they didn't want for hundreds of years. Men had to buy fertile wives like broodmares, and women had to give up their virgins, dowries, and ability to have children to get married. People who are married no longer get any gold stars from society. Children born out of wedlock are also not as taboo as they used to be. In 1990, 28% of babies were born to people who were not married. This number had gone up to 40% by 2016. But educated women are the ones who are setting the pace for this trend. Andrew Cherlin, an economist at Johns Hopkins University, found that the birth rates of women who were not married went up the most when they had more education. In 1996, only 4% of women in their 30s who had gone to college had children outside of marriage. Today, that number is up to 24.5%, which is a huge jump. Rates of cheating have gone up for women but not for men. On average, guys are more likely to cheat than women. Or, I should say, I've heard that their cheating rates are higher. In 2018, 20% of guys said they had sex with someone other than their husband, but only 13% of women said the same thing. Well, now the women are getting up to speed. Since 1990, the number of women who cheat has gone up by 40%, but the number of men who cheat has stayed about the same. Most interesting was that most cheating was done by women 50 to 69 years old. The baby boomers are starting to act up. There are two possible reasons why more and more women are cheating on their partners. One idea is that more women in their 30s and 40s are dating down or are pushed to do so because of their age. So, these women are more likely to cheat on their partners with guys who make less money. For example, researcher Corinne Lowe recently looked at how age and wealth affect how people choose to get married. Lowe found that after the age of 27, when they were no longer virgins, women married more low-income men. Lowe thought that older women marry people with lower incomes because richer men choose younger women. Most guys who don't have kids like younger women because they are more likely to have kids. Not a big surprise. But there is a more current reason why women are more likely to cheat. As more and more women can make money without men, they cheat more. Money is always more important than sex. This change in power can be seen in how things turn out. Not only do women cheat on their partners more, but they also feel less bad about it. A recent study found that having an affair makes women feel better about themselves and happier with their lives. The guys said that their affairs only made them feel bad and guilty. In other words, more women may be stealing because they feel like they have a right to do so because of their money.